Hello everyone, this is Cinema.
And this is Johannes.
And you are watching Board Gaming Ramblings.
And today we are talking about a topic. A while ago we did a series called Topical Ramblings, and we thought it might be fun to do some topics again because we enjoyed, like we did the one about the Shelf of Shame recently. And it's interesting because there's many very interesting things to talk about in the hobby. If you have any topics you want us to speak about, let us know in the comments and we might make a video about your topic. Today we are speaking about two things, which is kind of the same thing,
Yes.
but in two different ways. It is Cult of the New, which for some people are a big problem, for others they don't mind. We're going to talk about it. This is not going to be like, we have the answers. Listen to us and we will show you how the world is going to work.
I have the answers.
Oh yeah, but you're not going to share them.
Oh yeah, well, yes.
It's a secret.
If you pay me a lot of money.
And also the other question which is related to that is, do we need more new board games? And also, like, do we need as many board games as we get? Because I feel like there's more board games coming out every single year now than it was before. So, like, that is like the three different things we're going to talk about. I think we're going to talk a bit about, do we need more new games?
Yes.
And it's kind of like a two-part. Let's first talk about what would happen if, and do we need any more games at all?
The answer to that is no. Like, the
Yes.
world wouldn't suffer without more new games. If we had like a 20-year pause of producing new games, starting now, we would have a lot of good games, like the games for everyone and every occasion already existing.
That's true.
And we would have a great time.
And you would even, let's say, you didn't stop producing games, but you could like produce games that was already in existence. So it's not like, oh, there's no more of this print run. You could do another print run of the old
Okay,
game.
yeah, so no like more making of
New
the
games. So let's say you come into the hobby now, and we spoke about this because it's an interesting topic that we have spoken about also off camera, is like when you go into the hobby now, it might feel like it's stagnated, so it might not be that fun to come into. That was your like idea.
Yeah.
But I was thinking like, if you come into the hobby now, and because there's no new games, all the content creators, everybody has to speak about the other games, or we would have to stop doing content. So there would always be new stuff to explore. Because even us, we have played games for quite a few years. There are still games from before we started playing that we haven't played, that are great games. We're trying to play many of them. So, like, we don't need more games. But I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think the hobby as a whole, let's look away from people needing to earn money. Let's look at, like, conventions, Spiel, Gen Con, board game conventions, board game meetups, all of that. Do you think the hobby would still grow? Or do you think it would stagnate if we stop making new games?
That's a hard question. I like
Here you
to,
get the hard questions at Board Gaming Ramblings.
I like to compare board games with other things in life, hobbies or things that interest you. And for example, if I had bicycling or making food as an interest or sewing or whatever else, it would be weird coming into our hobby and they saying, by the way, they stopped producing new stuff for this hobby a long time ago. I find that hard to imagine being valid for board games when it isn't for other parts in the world.
But let's say I'm going to take up bicycling. Like I'm going to do mountain bicycling. It's not like, oh, the newest bike was made 5 years ago. I don't want to do bicycling now.
No, but then it feels like kind of vintage because there are like old things that we kind of stopped doing.
Yeah.
But we could like pay a lot of money to make it. For example, if I'm collecting dinosaur bones, yes. We don't make new ones.
No, but okay. But let's
feels like a different kind of hobby.
But let's take like the bicycling thing.
Yeah.
Let's say they're still making the bikes, but it's the same model that was made 5 years ago, which was like the thing we did with the board games.
Okay. Yeah, I don't like that idea because of a long time ago, when Dominion came out,
Yes.
for example, that was a very new thing
Yeah.
because deck building hadn't been a thing kind of before in that
Yeah,
regards.
yeah,
I wasn't there then in the hobby, so if you remember things differently, I take back all I've said. But we don't know what doesn't exist
No, that's
yet
true.
because it
That's true.
doesn't exist. And we feel like now we've explored so much of the hobby. There's so many different board games, so many different mechanisms. So like we feel like if it stopped now, we don't feel like it would be much harm because so much is explored already. But I think that is wrong. I think that we need to produce more games to have, for things to evolve.
Yeah, and I think like my biggest point for saying that you should make more board games is because there's so many designers with ideas and things that they want to explore and
Yes.
want us to experience. So obviously, I don't think that we need to stop making new board games. What I would have loved, and I think this is like a hole that you just start continuing digging, is that companies, publishers, have to make X amount of games, sell them to earn enough money to be able to run a company, because that's how a company works. But sometimes I play a game and I look at it and I think, who sat around that table and thought, this needs to be published? This is so good. With all of the games coming out, this one people need to experience. And hopefully they do think it's that good.
I
And
hope
I
they
just
do.
have a different opinion. But I feel like it's also kind of a hole that you keep digging, because the more new games coming out, the more new games you need to push out, because, okay, we're making this game, maybe it's only going to sell 400 copies, but that's going to be enough so that we can make more games, because if you only make this one game, it has to sell like 10,000 copies, and that's not going to happen. So it's coming to the more games that are there, the more things. I feel like you have to make more things.
Yeah, and I don't feel like board games is like a gold mine industry. I don't feel like you go into board games to get rich.
No.
So I hope when people are making board games that they really think that I'm doing this because I really enjoy what I have here. I really enjoy this idea. I really want to see this come to life and people experiencing the experience that I've created for them.
And that is true when you see the designers, but then of course you have the companies, they need to earn the money.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like if I made a board game, I wouldn't really do it because I want to make money, but if a publisher want to publish my game, they want to earn money on that product. So it's kind of, it's not like a definite thing, but I would think that it wouldn't be a bad thing if less new games came out.
I agree, absolutely.
Like if you took like one more round of, do we need to produce this game, ship it across the world, put it in a warehouse, try to sell it, and then kind of nobody likes it.
Yeah, because I doubt that the publishers put a lot of resources and money into a game that they don't believe will have an audience.
That's true.
But there are very, very many games released every year. And there is so many games that sees a very, very little kind of audience.
Yes.
A few people.
And also games that came out that I didn't hear about last year, and I'm not going to hear about it this year, and nobody is never going to remember that the game exists. So, and it's kind of, that is also hard, because probably somebody made that game and wanted people to know about it. So I'm not saying like independent people shouldn't make their games. I feel more like the big publishers, maybe they can cut down like one game each year. I don't know, because it's not like economics, because I don't know anything about that.
No. And people have to earn the money. And also, that's another reason why I understand there being new games made, because I don't want the board games being made to not be beneficial to the people who made them.
That's true.
So they have to make new games. If they only made the old games, I don't think they would survive at all.
No. So like I love this hobby. I love the hobby thriving. I love the hobby growing. And I want new games coming out, because, and also like some game might be for me and fantastic for somebody else. There's always a hard thing to look at. But I feel like we're coming to the place where there's almost too many new games. That is my conclusion on that topic. Do you have a conclusion?
Yeah, I know I have a thing that I wondered.
Yes.
Because for example, with books, there's so many people who wants to write a book,
Yes.
and they come with their manuscript, and they might not be any good, and they get rejected from a lot of these publishers. And I wonder how many board game prototypes the publishers in the board game hobby had to reject
before they
Yes.
find one that they want to make. That is absolutely true, and it's probably
a lot.
because there's also a lot of people who wants to make a board game. Let's talk a bit about Cult of the New, because the Cult of the New is a thing that more and more people talk about. I remember when we started Keep or Cull, one of the reasons many people loved that was because it was not Cult of the New. It was looking back at older titles, and we know recently we have played more new games on
Yes.
Keep or Cull, also because we have played many of the older games on our shelves. But some of the new games that were once new are soon beginning old and not Cult of the New anymore, so we're going to do more of that. But if you don't know what Cult of the New is, it's basically a saying or a term for everybody chasing what's new. Everybody wants the new thing, and the thing that's like an old or a year old, it's like, nah, it's old, it's not interesting. We always want to chase the new thing, to find the next best thing, to hopefully there's something up there that's going to be the fantastic thing. And I'm going to ask you a question. Why do we have Cult of the New? Give us the definite answer. You have 30 seconds on the clock. Go.
Well, I think we have Cult of the New. Like, we talk about it in regards to board gaming.
Yes.
But again, I compare it to a lot of the other things in the world. If there are a new way to make food in the foods industry, it's gonna be talked about. And that's also in my work as an optometrist. If there is a new camera that takes a picture of the eyes differently, I'm going to talk about that. Other than the old camera that the focus is going to shift to the new topic, no matter, for many things in the world.
Like in Magic as well, like there's always people like the new magic, the new trick, and then that trick is actually from a book from 1924. And that is like where you should look to find the new stuff, because nobody's doing the old stuff, so that's where you find new stuff, and not the new stuff because everybody's doing the new stuff. Of course, in board games, it doesn't matter. It's not like, I want to play a board game nobody else is playing. That doesn't really...
You might think that is
cool.
exciting.
So, is it a problem? That is like the big question. Is Cult of the New a problem? I think Cult of the New... Do you have anything, or should I just start this?
Yeah, go for it.
I think Cult of the New is a problem when it turns into FOMO in your life.
Yeah.
Because I can be excited for everything, but if I'm okay with not playing everything, it's not a big problem. And if I am happy with the games on my shelf, I can take it out and be like, oh, this is my favorite game. I'm so happy to be able to play this. And not be like, oh no, I don't want to play my favorite game. I would rather play this Kickstarter game or this new game that's coming out because everybody on Facebook is talking about it. So I think that Cult of the New might be a problem for you if it turns out to like a big FOMO.
Yes, and absolutely. I love people being excited for the games that they've played and they've enjoyed. And we also are like, oh, this is the best game from 2024. Everyone should play this. Obviously, you don't need to play this to have value in your life. And when people talk like that and are excited for the games that we played, especially if it's a new game, you might be like, oh, my life is not complete until I play this game that everybody else seems to enjoy so much. And you feel like, oh, if I only get that new game, I'm gonna be happy. And it's not gonna happen because you're going to feel about that the next new game.
I think it's hard, it's impossible to speak about this topic without speaking about the role that we as content creators have on this, both the Cult of the New and the FOMO. And I think it's obvious that for us, playing the new games makes even more sense because we want to share them with you to find out if that might be something for you or not. I'm going to quote Alex again from Board Game Co. because I think he has the best way of saying this. If you are smart, this is paraphrasing by the way, if you are smart, you only buy games that are 2 years old or older because you know if that game is good.
Yes.
Because enough people have played it. Let's say we get a new game that's coming out at Spiel, we play it and we love it. And you might share that with us because you might know enough about our taste to know that you're going to like it. But you might also be in a position where, oh, I have to have that game now. But then you see, oh, but there is now 50 people who reviewed it on Board Game Geek, for example. And you see, oh, these things I don't really like. But I already ordered it because this one person liked it. So the smart thing to do, and I know you're not gonna do this if you are excited about new board games, but like you don't need a new thing at all times. And even though it sometimes feel like that coming from us, I think it's very important. Like I wrote down a couple of like what to do. Like if you feel like this is a problem in your life, I have written down a few things that you might need to hear. And one of them is this: you don't need all the games.
No.
Like you probably don't need any games. You can go on BGA and play games there. Like, but probably if you're in the hobby, you want to have some games and you want to play some games. But you don't need all of them.
No.
And I feel like you never feel FOMO at all.
Well,
probably in the board games.
Usually I don't know that a game exists before
Yes.
we have it, so I'm very shielded against FOMO. But if I, for example, at Gen Con, we met other content creators and they were excited for a game, I was just like, we're getting the game, right? So I get a little FOMO.
So you're kind of happy you don't have to be in that because
Yes.
you might have been worse
I would
than
be
me.
struggling with FOMO.
And because for me, it's like I want to get the new stuff because I want to share it with you. That's kind of my excuse. I
Yeah.
want to play the new stuff because
Yes.
I'm always excited
Yes.
about new stuff. Sometimes we say yes to a preview just because I really want to play the game.
Yes.
Because I don't care. I just want to play this game now. I don't want to wait a year. I just want to play it now. And it's kind of, but it's twofold because I wouldn't have both the opportunity to play all the new games, obviously, because we don't pay for all of our games. So I wouldn't have money to buy all of these
No.
games. And that is like one thing because it's an expensive hobby if you want to buy all the games. And also I wouldn't have the desire to play all the new games at all times like I do now. I would be more like, oh, it's fun to play older games. Another thing I wrote down, which I think is very important, even though we give a game a very good review, do you need it?
No.
No.
Not at all.
It's basically the same thing, but basically I'm telling you now it's okay to not buy the game that we like. Even though you think, oh, it looks amazing and I know I like the same games, you don't need the games.
A lot of people, when we talked about our unplayed games, were very good at trying the games before they buy it at a local convention, or maybe one people person in your gaming group has it. You could try before you buy, and that is especially easier if you're not super fixated on getting the game right away.
You also said it already, basically, not playing a specific game is not going to change your life. It doesn't matter.
Nope.
And it's always, and it doesn't matter. Like, no matter how good the game is, you probably have other games you like. And it's not like your life is going to be, oh no, I haven't played Shackleton Base. I don't know what to do with myself now. Oh no, my life is horrible. That's not going to happen.
Is that also your default game that you went to with your brain now? Because I've been thinking about Shackleton Base this whole time. Because
it was a game that we loved. It
really
was our favorite game of the year.
Yes.
It was a big, heavy Euro that we fell in love with. And obviously we hyped it, or we were positive about it, excited about it, and made other people excited about it.
I have a question for you now.
Do it.
Because if people are not buying Shackleton Base, I'm just taking that as an example right now.
Go buy it now. No, you don't have to.
They're thinking the smart thing that Alex from Board Game Co. Advised them to do.
Yes.
Wait 1 or 2 years, and they go on the internet and they find our video from 2 years ago. It's the same hypeness.
Yes.
It's the same
Excitement,
positivity
yeah.
because they are watching us playing it when the game was new. Could they leave a comment on a 2-year-old video and be like, how do you feel about this game now?
People do it.
Oh,
People
that's
do that.
Cool.
Yeah, people do that. And I
love that. Do
try
that.
to answer my best. And
because we can't really, I would love that. If this was like my perfect world,
Yeah.
I would give you real-time updates
At all
on
times.
where the games are now.
But
that is not achievable.
No, and mostly because we don't have time. Even though we loved the game 2 years ago, I probably would still love it today.
Yeah.
That's like my baseline. Because it's not like my tastes of the games I love the most haven't changed a lot.
That's true.
So it doesn't mean that this is no better than these others, because I don't know that you have to say like a top 50, top 100, something like that. I think like an important thing to do
Yeah.
is because board games has to be fun. That is like my baseline. Make board games fun for you. If you only want to play new stuff and you have money to go out and buy that new stuff, then do it. It doesn't make your life worse doing that. And if it makes you happy, it makes you happy. But if you feel like, oh, I have to buy a new game, even though I have all of these unplayed games or I have all of these games already that I really like, you don't have to.
That's true. I'm going to quote Jeff from Foster the Meeple also, because they had like a topical thing talking about like how to enjoy the board game hobby, because people are so different. Enjoy it the way that you want to.
Yes.
And that's only your business.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
if you like culling a lot of games to have like a neat collection, cool, do that. If you want to hoard a bunch of games and just like never cull anything and you enjoy that, do it.
That's true. So as long as it makes you happy, that is basically the thing. So Cult of New, I don't think we're gonna change it. I don't think we're gonna stop it. I think it's gonna be there. But I also hope that you can join this topic. Just give us a comment. What do you think about this? How do you handle FOMO or Cult of the New in your life? I think that's going to be the end.
Yes.
Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, please let us know other topics you want to hear about. And also subscribe, because it makes us happy. Like this. Thank you for watching. I'm Johannes.
I'm Cinema.
And you've been watching Board Gaming Ramblings, and bye-bye.